Welcome to the Pure Energy Healing Academy. Welcome to my home today. How are you all doing? It's beautiful. Down on the coast, I'm looking at, we're actually on a cloud at the moment. It feels like it. It's incredible, but you can just see the gap in between the clouds and see this bright light. It's kind of beautiful, really. And funnily enough, we're at this point where my first mentor, who was a Wiccan high priestess, always talked about the veil being very thin right now between the two worlds. That was interesting. Over the years, have I come to see that to be real? Not really, no. I think it's wonderful that people try to connect, and I think a lot of people do their spells, and I do know for sure that, you know, if you go to places like Bohemian Grove, there's obviously a darker side to this, and these people who know about numerology, who know about the ancient star systems, and all of that astrological alignments of stars, all of these ancient texts, I'm sure there's truth in all of it. But for me, I keep life simple. Did I see some horrible things being done in the name of Halloween? Yes, I did. Did I stand back and reject it? Yes, I did. I wasn't interested in any of those things. Anything that didn't feel right in my heart. And I can understand why a lot of people have an issue with, you know, I'm not going to label anybody, but with this kind of idea of tapping into energy and doing either good or bad. I like the idea of every day is a beautiful day. Every day we can attune to anything that we want if we put our heart, mind, spirit, body, energy, effort into it. And for me, I wasn't one of those who said, oh, I was born with a gift. I do know for a fact that as I was growing up, you know, at the foot of my bed, there was always something there. I didn't know what. But does that make me somebody who sees ghosts all the time? Does that make me anything special? No. I think most of us see things from a child as we grow up, but we train ourselves to not believe, or we've been told not to be silly, or, you know, just to reject it, which is a shame, really, because it's not always the case that spirit is scary. And you know, when you think about it, it's a good one to think about. Why is it that mainstream always project anything that is non-touch, i.e. spirit or ghosts, to be demonic and scary and evil? Well, they do it for a reason. They don't want you to attune to your family in spirit. They don't want you to attune to the fact that we have help every day, and the little whispers that are given to us. I've been just listening to the Richie Allen radio show just now. It's the Sunday Melodies. For me, it's one of the most beautiful times of the weekend, and I just get to sit and listen to some great tunes, bring back memory. And he always puts things on that oh my God, and it brings back a memory. To Richie, he probably just thinks that he's pulling out a record for some reason, but what he doesn't realise is that he, like everybody else, works very closely with the spirit world, and the spirit world nudges. Where do you think you get ideas from? Where do you think you get this inspiration from? I mean, why is it that he chose a record this morning that meant so much to me today on this day? Why is that? Because spirit nudges us in a certain way. So a lot of the times, our thoughts and feelings are little whispers from spirit. And sometimes you wonder, well, why did I do that? And somebody will say, oh, that meant something to me. So spirit works close to us all the time. The ancients spoke of this. I mean, you just go back in history and look at all of these ancient tribes. They had this beautiful connection to the spirit world all their life, every moment of every day. You know, it isn't religion. It isn't going to a church and praying. It's the fact that spirit is around us all the time, which they are. And people often say to me, well, what is the spirit world? And I say, well, the only way I can describe it as how I see it when I go into meditation, or sometimes when I see around me, when I look at energy and try and understand it. And that is that the spirit world is of this world, just a different frequency. So if you imagine sitting in an empty room and there's a radio in front of you and you can just hear this static, and all of a sudden you turn it and then all of a sudden music comes on. Well, imagine that same box, but it's a spiritual box, and you turn it and all of a sudden the spirit world appears, and then you turn it again, they disappear, and then our world appears, and then you turn it again and another world appears. You see, we've struggled to understand because nobody ever has taught you to understand this, because this has no relevance to the world that tries to enslave us, that tries to shut us down from our trueness and the real reason why we're here. And any kind of step towards that, they're going to stop you. So it's like the bully watching you in the playground. He doesn't want you to start going to grab some weights and lifting them, because he knows that you're going to become stronger, which means that's going to be a threat to him, because you might then knock him out. It's the same thing. Darkness is within the elite. Darkness is around us all the time. It's always trying to suppress us one way or another. And a typical example is this morning. You know, all my Instagram accounts, not so much YouTube now, because I have to be very careful what I say, but I've been struck off quite a few times and had bans and things like that on here. But on Facebook and a lot of other accounts, I'm completely shadow banned. I've got 20, 30, 40,000 followers. Nobody ever, hardly ever looks at my posts because I've been shadow banned. Why is that? Because when you are close to the truth, I mean, let's put it in their terms, okay? I have thousands of clients who contact me every day about how they're feeling at the moment, both mental, physically, and emotional, okay? Because they were coerced in doing something that everybody has to do now. If not, then you won't have a passport, you won't have a driver's license, you won't be able to go and have a coffee, which is all true. They tell me what's happened to them since they did something that they wish they hadn't have done. Why is it that me and them, their experience and my understanding about this field of work, why is it that according to those apps and these people and the government, why is it that we're all liars according to them? How is it that we're all liars? Why is it that we are being gagged? Why is it that we can't speak? I can't talk to you about any of this anymore because this channel will be taken off. Why is that? That is only something that you can conclude is sinister. Therefore, we are living in sinister times. We are living in dark times. And right now, I can guarantee you this, because my first mentor was very, very high up in the echelons of elite. She worked for the FBI. She did a lot of things, okay, which I wasn't interested in. But she told me that this is the time that a lot of these elite, they practice some really heavy rituals, some really, really almost satanic rituals. Well, they are, but I don't want to go too deep into that. And they do some horrific things right now in the name of creating their power, their status, their wealth, greed, basically, and thus I kind of didn't really want to know about that and said I'm not interested in doing any kind of spells or anything like that. So I don't do them. I don't do spells. I don't believe in voodoo. I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in any of that stuff at all. The reason why is because I've seen so many people suffer in the name of what they believed was a curse, in the name of what they believed was voodoo and black magic. And even people get upset with me when I say that, because they say don't mix them all together, don't mix spells up with it, they're all different. Well, you may have a great point there, but for me, I think my thoughts, my feelings, my actions determine what happens in the world. and it creates my world. And it's extremely interesting when you see where people get so deep into the dark, understanding the dark ancient texts of the Golden Dawn, you know, all of these things that I have no time for, because my life is too much worth living. I see truth, I see through experience, and through what happens from day to day in my world. So I was going to talk about a crystal, actually. Maybe I should. I don't care. Let's just talk about a crystal today. I know I've gone off from one subject to another. I want to talk to you about a special crystal today, which is a very powerful crystal. And on a day like today, you would think, oh, Mark's talking about Moldavite today. I'm not. I'm talking about a crystal that isn't really talked about and known, but to a few, this crystal is extremely powerful, and especially on energetic alignments and certain times of the year. And I often met a lot of people who use this crystal. I found it fascinating that they did on certain times of the year. So they would bring this crystal out on certain times of the year. So I'm going to show you this crystal now, and you probably know what it is. And let's talk about it. There you go. I'll just do a little twirl if I can. So this is Chevron quartz. Chevron is a very, very interesting crystal. You can see the amethyst and the beautiful making of this crystal. It's just, it's fascinating when you look at it. And it's actually, when you look at it, it kind of like draws you into the crystal. I can see why it's a very powerful crystal. Just by looking at it, you can see it's mesmerizing. I really like this crystal. I don't often get it, but when I do, I love it. I like it raw like this. This is natural. I love it polished as well. So both of them are great. So this crystal was worn a lot by my first mentor, and she used to use it in the practice of spells. Black tourmaline was used a lot as well. A lot of quartzes were used as well, but this one in particular. So what is Chevron quartz? Well, I've used it now for many years, and one of the things I found about this crystal, for me, is it is a wonderful connector to the spirit world. So it makes sense that they'll use it on this time, because they say the veil between the two worlds is thin right now. So I used to wear this crystal often, and it is a great crystal for attunement. It's great for trying to connect to your loved ones in the spirit world. If you just wear it, you'll feel, you'll radiate an energy of attunement. Why? Because it clears away the blocks, and it's great. It really is. Rubbing it on the temples, the third eye, across, is great with oil. Palo Santo is my favorite oil to use. Frankincense oil is great, and sage oil is great. If you can mix all them three together, brilliant. So where do we start with this crystal? Well, I used to go to a circle, and in that circle we would try and connect to our family and spirit. I went to a few circles to begin with, but I have no time for circles that talk about grandma's colour of curtains. I have no time for that kind of stuff. I wanted to connect and make a difference in the world. And that difference for me was to understand what the spirit world was trying to help us with along our journey. So the spirit world would give us information, which a lot of people write down and create books. And there's a lot of books out there that have been channeled by people. A lot of people have created something so profound that it changed not only their life, but the lives around them. Sometimes it changed the making of the world. Now that has purpose to me, that has meaning. That's something to work towards. So a lot of the times I would wear moonstone and Chevron. And Chevron was that kind of crystal that when we went into the attunement of spirit, which is different from the psychic, in my opinion. So like that's past, present, future. Now I'll be grabbing moonstone and now I'm trying to connect to the spirit world. I'll grab the Chevron. Some people will use any kind of amethyst, which is very similar. But Chevron there's just something else about Chevron. So we used to sit in circle and we'd begin. And I remember this is a great thing. When I used to do circle nights, and there were maybe 50 or 70 of us, I used to have Chevron, and I used to ask people to bring Chevron. And we'd connect, and I'd say to everybody, this is a connection of all, not one. So don't try to just connect and have a message for yourself. Have a message for the circle. And then I'd say have a message for the world. And by that way, you're not becoming it's not selfish just because I want a message for me. It's I want a message to help the world, which people really appreciated that. And we got some amazing information to help us through the year. And that connection, rather than singular, but singular means your mother, your brother, your sister in the spirit world, your children, to the whole of this beautiful energy that's around us, that's filled with information that we can channel. And I used to try and help my friends who came to the circle night channel, because once they're able to channel that energy, it will help them along their journey. And once you get that connection, this is where I'm coming to. Once you get that connection of what's called the source of all things, that is everything, all, and ever will be, when you connect to that, you find that that connection is extremely strong and then can stay inside you in a way that you are given certain information that you will feel in your body. So like for me, if I ever felt something was wrong, my intuition would turn my stomach. So my stomach would go into knots and feel almost nausea, and I'd feel that's not good. So I would be receiving information from whatever I was attuning to. So you might think, oh well, that's just your imagination. Exactly. That was hijacked by the elite, by all of those people, all those bullies that didn't want you to attune. So they used this, you're an idiot, it's just your imagination. He's got a vivid imagination. He's got a wild imagination. All of those things were deliberately placed there by the elite throughout the centuries. Never stops because it works. Why stop something when you can pass it down to your children and tell them this is what you need to put out there all the time to stop the sheep becoming lions? And this is why I've always practiced this idea of, if you ever stand in front of somebody, if you ever step up to a platform, don't ever tell people to listen to you. Tell people to listen to themselves. Give them the power. Give them the tools. You know? I mean, I noticed from the very beginning, if you give somebody a fish today, then they'll want a fish tomorrow. If you teach somebody how to fish for themselves, then they can catch the fish. You don't need to bother with them. And what I mean to say is, you can give somebody a piece of fruit. I should say it in another way because I'm not too big into fishing anymore. Anything with two eyes and a brain and a mouth, not interested in eating these days at all. So give somebody a fruit and they can eat it and say thank you and they'll come back to you for more. But teach somebody how to plant seeds and grow their own, you've done it. That's the same thing. You're planting seeds within people's hearts and minds, sharing, look, hey guys, we can all do this. You can do this. I'm learning just as much as you're learning. I can connect to the spirit world, and so can you. We can all do it. Let's try it now. So Chevron quartz is that kind of beautiful energy that amplifies. People will want to know what's the energy within this. For me, it isn't the crystal that's connecting me to the spirit world. A lot of people make the mistake that they think that this is it. No, this is only a vibration, a frequency. And what happens is it targets certain parts of the body, mind, spirit, targets your energetic field to heighten the energy. So if your pineal gland is a little bit rusty, is a little bit packed with fluoride, and it's calcified, and so it's going to help that. It's going to clear that some way. How? I don't know. But I'm telling you, it helps you connect. So that your hearing to the spirit world becomes heightened. Your senses, all your 7 senses and 10 senses and 20, heighten all the time. So this crystal helps heighten you. But the one thing that I want to say is that don't ever think that the crystal is the crystal that does this for you, and you can only do it with that crystal. Don't ever go that's a mistake a lot of people make. A crystal helps you attune so you become the most powerful crystal in the world. So I might use a crystal for a few minutes, then put it down and then attune, and I'm already in that energy and that frequency. And then, oh my God, I can feel things. The moment you panic and think, oh, I can't do it without my crystal, you've got it wrong. The crystal is only brushing away, clearing away, strengthening you to be able to be the attunement of the spirit world or whatever you're doing at that time. Some of the things that I like about Chevron quartz, I'd like to say, is it brings a lot of happiness. I always feel great. I always feel balanced. I always feel wonderful when working with Chevron. I really love this crystal. I believe the ancients have used this for a long time, and I know why, because I've worked with it and felt the energetic. It's a pulse almost, and it's quite frequent. And I think the more you use it, the more you hold it, the more you work with it, the more that pulsation, that wave hits you. So depending on how you focus is how this works. So if you push the boundaries out of connection, it will go with you and it will work with you to any level. That's why it's a powerful crystal. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I have loads of Chevron. I love Chevron. I work with it all the time. I have literally worked with 2,000, 3,000 pieces, often gifting them away for people and children. Great for children to help them as well connect. There is some kind of balance as well. Some children who are heavily connected to the spirit world, when wearing a piece of Chevron, it brings a lot of balance and a lot of calmness and stability in that connection. And thus they don't feel frightened or scared or worried. So there is something that the ancients used and knew about Chevron. So there you go. It's a beautiful crystal. It's one that I would recommend you get and work with and see how you feel. And if you have worked with it, please below share your truth about it. Let everybody know how, because we're all learning all the time. I could actually talk to you about one story in particular that this crystal actually made a massive difference for, and it was for a man. And this guy was called Jake, and I remember him coming to me. He was a beautiful man, but lost somebody who he loved very much. And he connected to the person that he loved, but he just wanted to be closer. So I remember he was lying down on the healing bed, because I said, well, the best way I can do it is not by psychically attuning and reading your future and past and present, which we don't need to, but maybe we need to cleanse and clear and try and heighten your awareness. And I realized that when I got the Chevron quartz, I had 3 pieces. One went onto his heart and the other 2 in his hands. And I quickly realized that the Chevron was working on a grief level. That's why Chevron works really well with black tourmaline, because if you're filled with grief, both of these 2 crystals work on connecting you to the person that you feel grief because you've lost them and you can't feel them. So yeah, so going back to Jake, he was crying, as we do when we have a healing session a lot of the times, and my hand was on his heart on top of the Chevron like this, and I was just blasting that beautiful energy that we can all do, and I could see that the heart was clear in the grief. And after an hour he got up and he started crying and he hugged me and he said, I've just had a conversation with the person that he loves. And I said, you see, my mum, and I said to him, my mum is always with me. But depending on what I want to do that day, or what I'm thinking about, or you know, if I'm sad and upset because she's not here and she's not holding me, then I am in that frequency, that energy. So I said, all I felt was when I was giving you a healing session is that you were stopping yourself from feeling the love of the person that, I don't want to say who because people might know who it is. And I said, so what happened is that I was giving you a healing session from the person that you love who came into my energy and started healing you, and it was all about your heart. And what happened was you were being strengthened, and honestly, the connection, I could see him, he was crying all the way through it. But the tears were not tears of grief, the tears were of joy, different energy. And he was basically speaking to the person that he loves. And that was his personal experience, not mine. I could feel somebody around me and I thought, okay, this must be the person that he loves. And when we'd finished, he gave me a hug. I mean, a grown man giving me a hug. He was so happy. And from that moment on, he never came back. He only came once, and that's all he needed to do, because once you realize that your family is with you all the time and connected with you, everything you do, think, feel, they're always there. They're around us all the time. Once you grasp that, then you can let go of pain and suffering, because your home is here. Their home is here. It's just a different frequency, but they're still around. And it's a tough one to grasp. But let me finish on this note. Your family in spirit are always with you. And Chevron quartz is something that I feel is a great crystal. If you could go to your local crystal store and say, have you got a piece of Chevron? And put it around your neck. If you know somebody in grief, buy a piece of Chevron, because it will heighten their awareness to the family that they love, and they'll feel them quicker. They'll clear away the pain and suffering, which this does. It helps you feel better, and thus you will be able to connect far easier. You know, when you're in pain and suffering, you can't balance. You're not balanced. You can't connect to anything. You can't feel anything. You just feel the pain. So what Chevron does is clear that and strengthens the heart, blasts it with great energy, strengthens the mind to become more aware, a more heightened awareness. So that's it. I have some pieces on my website, on markbajerski.com. I'll put the link below, but please support your local crystal store. They need your support more than ever. Really, they do. Yeah, have a beautiful day, guys. I've got a box here that I need to open. Maybe I might open it with you on Monday. It's about my brand new oil coming out, which is taking over the oil, which is the healing heartache oil, which we're finished with now. We're going to bring a new oil out, which is a strengthening the heart oil. And I've decided to call it, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to call it. You have a think about it. But we'll do a video on that. I'll show it you here. It's just arrived. That's from France, and that cost me a fortune. That is the new... Anyway, I'll talk all about it soon. I think that's it. I'm wishing you a lovely day. Stay strong. Stay true. And remember, no one has the power over you unless you let them. Bye for now.